Hi everyone, Craig here, Product Manager at Broker Engine. One of the things I stumbled upon early on in my mortgage broking career was the concept of checklists. And the reason I stumbled upon them was I wanted to deliver a great client experience at scale. I wanted my clients to just have this excellent experience, no rework, no errors. Obviously, that's a dream, but limited errors, limited rework, and so on, so that no matter how many deals I put into the top of the funnel, they all came out settled as raving referrers. And so I stumbled upon checklists as a way to manage that. And of course, it makes sense. We've got, surgeons doing complex surgery using checklists, pilots flying expensive planes using checklists. So I thought, well, let's give them a go inside of my mortgage broking practice. And we actually started out using an Excel spreadsheet. So we had this sort of spreadsheet here, to go through like compliance checks, that's pre-approval, but compliance, through to fraud things, and my team would have to go through and complete these checklists: income checklist, lodgement checklist, pre-default checklist, unconditional checklist, etc., etc. And the concept was that when deals got into key stages, formal approval, submitted, key stages, we would do a bit of a checklist, a bit of what we call fireproofing, to make sure that we do a bit of fireproofing now, check all the key details, so that the deal progresses to the next major stage without a hiccup. So we'd do a checklist at each major stage. The issue was that once we started using checklists, we would add to them every time there was an issue or a client got a bad experience, whether it was our fault or not. We would often go, well, how can we prevent that from happening again? And we would add it to a checklist. And the checklist therefore got very long. There was lots in there, and also they weren't conditional. So, there would be times where, for example, in this unconditional checklist here, if the lender is, ING, make sure you do that. If there's LMI, double check the LMI isn't, outside of 10% of what we quoted. If the client lives overseas, do this, for example. And the problem was that, the team, once the checklist got really long, the team would sort of lose, the checklist would lose their benefit, because the team wouldn't know actually which ones apply to this deal, and if they're in a hurry, they might just mark them all as complete. So that's where we started with checklists, and they almost became a bit useless at the end because they were so big. So what did we do? We decided to build them into our software system, so that they were visible over here. So checklists over here on the right hand side, they were visible. Number one, they weren't hidden away in a folder somewhere. There was an audit trail, that who actually marked it complete or deferred it or whatever. But finally, the main reason we built them in here was so that they were conditional, dynamic. They built themselves based on the deal attributes. If it's an LMI deal, it would show a checklist item to check the LMI. If it was a fixed rate lock, it would show that. And I'll show you how that works now. So firstly, you see how we've got a formal approval checklist, for example. If I was to click, lender, that this was a first homeowners grant, for example. If I click on first homeowners grant, you'll see now that the checklist automatically updated in real time to send in the first homeowners grant form. And of course, it would have been back here somewhere, most likely at the submission stage, or at pre-submission stage rather, where it would have said prepare first homeowners grant form. Again, if I unclick first homeowners grant, it's going to remove that item from there as well. So by clicking the one-click workflow first homeowners grant, it updates all your checklists and also your workflow as well, to make sure that your team prepare that at the pre-submission stage, and also we submit it at the formal stage, and then at the ready to settle stage, we should check that it's actually been approved. So that's an example of the checklist sort of updating in real time. If it was a fixed rate lock, for example, if there was a fixed rate lock, we can come down and select rate lock, and you'll find again that the formal approval checklist will update in real time right here. So confirm fixed rate lock has been applied. If I uncheck that, you'll see that it disappears. Recheck it, and again also the pre-submission stage, when the team are preparing the lodgement, it would actually have in there as well, make sure you've ticked on fixed rate lock. So fixed rate lock, special pricing. If the deals are refinance, it can do things like send in the discharge authorities. If it's a fast refi, don't send it in, and things like that. So you can So the checklists are fully dynamic. They build themselves based on the attributes of the deal. The second thing you need to know, and they're really easy to do, right? So if I want to come in here, let's say I've just had an issue, client got a bad experience, and I think let's update my checklist, or maybe the lender's come out with a new process. What I can do is I can click on Manage Checklists. From here, I can open up the relevant checklist I want to edit. You can, so this one here, for example, and I can then come in here and go, okay, at the pre-submission stage, I wish to add in an item that says, prepare deposit bond. I can put a tooltip in here, which might include a little video. So if I've got a brand new team member, and they don't know what this means, they can watch a little Loom video on it. So it makes it nice and easy to onboard your team. But I only want to display this when the deal actually has a deposit bond applicable as a one-click workflow. Or it could be, the broker is only displays one when the broker's Craig, or the lender is St. George, or the loan type is, a fixed rate loan, or you've tagged the deal as an SMS loan, or the lender allows for authority to debit. You can sort of customize your checklist. You can customize your checklist yourself. Rest assured, out of the box, we provide you with a pretty good template, to start with, but very easy to jump in here to update them yourselves, change around as you need to, and importantly, as you discover issues along the way or need to update something, they're very, very quick to come in there to update as well. Finally, you want to make sure, of course, that your team actually complete the checklist, as part of your workflow. So importantly, let's say I move this deal to formal approval. What we'll see is we'll actually see a task pop in here shortly that says, formal approval, complete formal approval checklist. Here it is here. And you can see here that it's actually linked to the checklist. If I try and mark this task as done, it'll actually prevent me from doing it. It's saying checklist isn't complete. You need to complete these items first. Once I come over here and actually complete those items, it'll then prompt me to mark that task complete. I can now mark that task complete, and then the next part of my client journey continues, which in my case would be a nice formal approval advice emailed to the client. So that's checklists, really powerful. They're going to help you, the broker, or help me certainly in my practice, make sure that my client gets a great client experience every time. We avoid errors and mistakes and rework by doing a little bit of what we call fireproofing to make sure everything is good to go into the next major stage. If anything, I hope that was helpful. Any questions or feedback, or if you want to check out a demo, please jump onto brokerengine.com.au. Bye for now.